from Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. My name is Victor Fursov. I'm a research entomologist, beekeeper and teacher. And this is my string translation just on telephone, on a smartphone, and just directly through the cable line. Well, today we have a very interesting topic for stream, for discussion, for questions from auditory and for translation with some videos. Very interesting topic for stream, for discussion, for questions. Yes, so computer is working, started to work. So it's translated on two different channels. So that's why you can watch it either on smartphone or on telephone or through your computer. On smartphone, it's also very convenient because people are traveling everywhere around now. And if people keep smartphone, okay, you can type your questions everywhere in the world. Either you are just in Nepal or in South America, in Australia, New Zealand, or in Canada, in United States, or in India. A lot of people from United States watching my channel. So the second part, this is okay, Palearctic region, and also just India and some other countries. So that's why I'm talking in English language for this discussion, for this translation online, and which will be recorded and will be also on my channel. Today we'll be talking about insects. Insects in your house. So this is mostly my lecture because auditory is collecting very slowly, especially in Ukraine. This is evening time, so not so many people watch on YouTube, and most people now just moved to either to Instagram or TikTok for entertaining content, for entertaining video, just to watch bees, wasps, some poisonous, some venomous arthropods, which are biting, which are stinging, and this is funny for people. My channel is devoted to scientific research, to scientific observations, and partially for amateurs observation, for amateurs who can observe insects at home, in a courtyard, in a forest, in a park, just near your home, in village, or maybe even in a big city. Like I'm living in Kyiv, this is a big city, more than 2 million people. How many years? More 2,000 years old. Kyiv city, the capital of Ukraine. And just a lot of people around, not so many insects, by the way, around. But nevertheless, if you are observative, if you have attentive eyes, so you can watch for animals, for big animals like mammals, for birds, for fish if you are fishing, and you can observe some tiny arthropods, tiny insects which are crawling, which are jumping, which are flying around, which are sitting and singing somewhere in trees, in shrubs in evening time, or sometimes flying between shrubs in the dark time, in the darkling time. And also you can observe for insects just at home, because at home you may keep domesticated insects, partially or fully domesticated insects, or you can keep insects which you bring from the nature, and you can think that they are domesticated, but originally they are just wild, but they are living at home like pets, like artificial pets. If you're keeping cat or dog is domesticated animal. Only there are some wild dogs and wild cats, different species which are living in the wild areas or in a wilderness. But insects, majority of them, they are not domesticated. Who are domesticated? Who is living for special purpose, for purpose of human beings. And this is mostly just one species, and this is a silk moth, and Bombyx mori, family Bombycidae, big Lepidoptera, relatively big, about this size, white moth, which are producing silk for hundreds years, for thousands years in China, in India, in Japan. And now this can be also cultivated in different countries, naturally in Uzbekistan, in Afghanistan, in Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzia maybe, just for commercial purposes, for industrial purposes, for collecting silk from cocoons of the silk moths. And also this species is domesticated because silk moth, the butterfly, cannot fly naturally. The silk moth lost ability to fly because this is an artificial selection of silk moth. And silk moth is producing silk, and now Japanese selectors, geneticists, and Chinese geneticists trying to make better productivity of silk moths, Bombyx mori, making different coloration of silk of this cocoon. Little bit whiter, little bit pink, little bit yellowish, and also bigger cocoon. So bigger cocoon, better productivity, and even Japanese geneticists achieved some very good results. So they increased the size of cocoon and also the weight of cocoons on 1/3 part, more than 25%, and change different colors. But this is distant countries. Some people keep in silk moths just for fun, as lepidopterists, as amateurs, as collectors and zookeepers, for educational purposes and just for pleasure. And even I have some cocoons. I forgot to show you. I showed in some of my videos. One lepidopterist from Ukraine, who is amateur and who is keeping moths and butterflies at home for educational and nature conservation purposes, for releasing moths in the nature to increase the population in the nature. He kept also silk moth at home, and he was trying to increase to feed these caterpillars with a mulberry maybe 2 years ago. So he sent me some cocoons just for presentation during some exhibitions. Thank you very much, Oleg. If you're watching, or you will be watching me next time, maybe we can make kind of a stream with you as well. So this is one species, silk moth, Bombyx mori, white tiny moth about this size, but very pleasant because she cannot escape. Easy to observe, easy to cultivate, easy to feed the caterpillars with mulberry leaves. Mulberry leaves are living plant just in some areas easily, not in the north, but in the south areas. Even in Kyiv we have some mulberry trees. And another species, this is a honeybee. People saying that honeybee is domesticated species. That's not very true. Just devoted beekeepers in Ukraine. I was keeping good, and I'm keeping good connections with beekeepers in Ukraine, are talking always, remember, honeybee is not domesticated species. They're always wild because they want to escape from my farming place, from my apiary. Always they're swarming and trying to escape. They're sitting for half an hour near my apiary, just saying goodbye to apiary. And if you missed this choice to collect it, the swarm, during half an hour, swarm will be leaving the apiary in the unknown direction, maybe to another trap of a neighbor's, or maybe to the forest or shrubs. Yes, one person has already wrote me that his friend is a giant spider, he is keeping it as a pet. Spiders, also possible to keep as a pest. But I finished my story about honeybees. So honeybees is partially, just a little bit domesticated, because humans, beekeepers, they provided for them artificial home, beehive, or many beehives. And they just created beekeeping technology, how to take care about honeybees carefully, how to split colonies to prevent swarming, how to delete queen cells or queen larvae just in the correct appropriate time. So how to keep beekeeping technology in sophisticated way, for not for scientific purpose but for commercial purpose, because beekeepers are collecting, gathering all the honey from honeybees, mostly all the honey, because only some, as I say, devoted and creative and intelligent with some brain beekeepers were leaving some honey for honeybees for the overwintering period. Some commercial beekeepers are saying no problem about honey for honeybees. They collect during the gathering time, for yielding time, all the honey from a beehive, and then feeding honeybees with sugar syrup. So that's why honeybees were producing again artificial honey from beekeeping sugar, from sugar syrup, because they're feeding sugary syrup and they're just releasing it again to the cells. They're producing kind of a honey, but this quality of this honey is much lower, and this kind of honey which will be collected by honeybees inside the cells is not so productive, doesn't have such amount of beneficial content and beneficial vitamins and other contents, and not so good for overwintering for honeybees. So that's why honeybees will be dying regularly on a higher rate on the sugary syrup. So far so good. There are some other bees, as the wild bees, some beekeepers who are keeping solitary bees like Osmia, Megachila, from a family Megachilidae of leafcutter bees. It's very popular to make bee hotels, so they're collecting some refuge, some stems, or making some kind of artificial woody nests, and they're replicating one generation to another generation of leafcutter bees of genus Osmia and Megachila for pollination purposes, for commercial purposes, because Osmia bees and Megachila bees are great pollinators of different flowers in a springtime and different flowers in a greenhouse, and they're not stinging. They're not intended to sting, because they're very peaceful wild bees, and they're solitary because they don't have behavior for protection of their nest. Their nest is temporary, just for 1 year. Queen of a solitary bee is creating many cells just for 1 season and then just dying, and all larvae, pupae, and then adults, they're just overwintering for the next season without attention of an initial queen. So that's why some beekeepers are keeping Osmia bees, Osmia like a wasp sounds, Osmia solitary bee, leafcutter, and Megachila bees for commercial purposes, to sell them to greenhouses or to some agricultural organic farmers for pollination purposes. And it's really great. Or some of them making it in their courtyards for nature conservation purposes, for pollination of their backyard. Not a greenhouse, but just apple trees, pear trees, plum trees, mulberry trees, everything just in a garden. And it's really great. So we really appreciate efforts of these amateurs, of these great people who are keeping solitary bees in the courtyard. Some people keeping also spiders, like Pavel, who wrote here. In majority people, these giant spiders were not poisonous and were not biting humans just for no reason. If you're just putting the finger between mandibles of a spider of course probably will bite you, but in natural situation, spider doesn't jump on the humans, jump on the people for biting. This is not a scorpion. This is not a scorpion which is just biting for self-protection. but I do not appreciate efforts of some keepers who are keeping black widow spiders, for instance, at home at the laboratory for no reason, for not studying their behavior, for not studying their venom, or maybe parasitoids like this one. Just for fun, but just for fun, keeping black widow. This is a extremely dangerous and unnecessary behavior to keep venomous spiders at home or at the laboratory without scientific reason. And I just started directly the story about domesticated insects, about pets, and also I don't forget about pests. That sounds very funny in English. Pets and pests. Pets. These are animals or birds or fish which are very pleasant for humans. And pets, pests, pests, pests. These are dangerous and not pleasant, irritating creatures who are living in your house, in your warehouse, in your stock, in your kitchen, or just attracted from the nature sometimes. Majority of insects and majority of arthropods come into your house, come into your kitchen, either from a balcony, either from a window, or from door, from your courtyard, because they're attracted in the evening time with the light, like this. I'm just sitting in front of the light, so some butterflies coming, but some are coming, for instance, for pheromone. I have this pheromone plate for some pests, some pests, for some moth, for fruit moth. So they're coming just because here pheromone. I cannot steal pheromone, but some other pests like moths, they're feeling pheromones of females, and they're flying from the window, from a balcony, from neighbors, don't forget about it, from neighbors in your big apartment house. They're coming inside your house because they're feeling pheromones of females of the same species, like some dangerous fur moths. They're coming from neighbors, from their warehouse, from their stock, and they can infest your house. And I started to say about insects and arthropods, but don't forget that I am in Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, and situation in Ukraine is not so pleasant. I'm not so, say, controversial. There is no controversial situation. There is a country who is attacked by aggressors. An aggressor country, this is a Russian country, Russian Federation, which is greatly not appreciated but hated country by all Ukrainians. I can say by the majority of Ukrainians, maybe 99% of Ukrainians are hating now Russian language and hating now also Russian state, Russian Federation state. This is 2 years ago, we can say this is controversial question because just the war in Ukraine started 9 years ago in 2014. But now the war is continuing more than 500 days as in a wild scale level. Today we don't have and didn't have still some air attacks, so air defense system didn't make some sirens even in Kyiv, but some sirens are always coming in evening time, in the morning time, in an unexpected time, because this bloody country, the Russian Federation, sending some bloody drones to Ukraine, and Ukrainian military forces are protecting citizens of Ukraine, are protecting the land of Ukraine, and are protecting the state of Ukraine. And military forces of Ukraine are protecting the state of Ukraine, independence of Ukraine. So that's why we're making their job. So one day maybe I can tell you the story about it as a review of this journal, because I have this journal which is named Kraina, which means state or country. So there are different issues. This journal is coming every 1 month. So next will be coming in the end of this month. This one month before. This was in June time. Here, the destruction. This is a not visible picture because this is all the black and white. Journal is named Kraina. Sounds like Ukraine. Ukraina. So a country or state. And this is white and black picture of city of Bakhmut, which is completely destroyed, demolished by a Russian Federation. And one journal is about NATO. Russian Federation is not satisfied about NATO, but more and more people in Ukraine are becoming more and more satisfied in the name of NATO and joining the NATO. So politicians will think about it. They're thinking about it. So, but this is story for my next speeches, maybe for next translations. If you like this point, I can tell you about these journals, what is described in these journals, because there are some hot news which are described not in internet but in a journal as an interview with witnesses in the front, an interview with witnesses of the situation, politicians, scientists, art workers, ordinary people, witnesses of brutality, and it's published in this journal. But coming back to our insects. So if you want to support Ukraine, don't forget that Ukraine is fighting for independence. And if you want to support my channel, you can support my channel as well. I would say I can make my little drop for fighting against this stupid country as our neighbors. Yeah, this is some negative story. Sorry about it, but this is a situation because some people are now talking about some subjects and do not pay attention to situation around. But the situation around is difficult in Ukraine. Strange, maybe people say in Russia, but very difficult in Ukraine. But we are trusting to our military forces, to our state and our country. And we believe in the victory of Ukraine. Support my channel and support Ukraine. If you are speaking in English and if you are understanding what I'm talking about, if even you are in India, in Europe, in Australia, in Africa, in South America, in North America, in United States, in Canada, in Mexico, in Brazil, Peru, Ecuador, or maybe in South America, or maybe in South Africa, in Morocco, or maybe in Italy, in England, Sweden, Norway, Tunis, Morocco, China, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam. So support Ukraine. Don't support these bloody countries, Russian Federation. We are writing this name from the small letters, Russian Federation, a very small country. Forget about negative story. Support independence of Ukraine. Stand with Ukraine. By the way, and what about pests? For pests in your house, in your warehouse, I show you them in this video, which I am just starting to translate. Okay, now I start translation of different interesting insects on my video file, and I will be commenting I'm adding to the stream video file. Well, majority of insects are presented at home, maybe in a view of like collections of butterflies, collections of beetles, which is intended for educational purposes, maybe just for pleasure. And I'm showing now just this is collection of butterflies like this one, butterflies. My friend from Chernigov region sent me, Oleg, hello, thank you very much. He sent me this tiny small insects just for presentation, for educational purposes. And people collecting butterflies, spreading their wings, keeping them in such entomological boxes. You need to keep them very carefully because there are a lot of pests, tiny insects, tiny beetles, which are invading these boxes, entomological boxes, and will eat your collection. Even this big one collection can be eaten. And this on the second my video, this is a wood lice. I collected these wood lice just on the ground in the park near my house. But also these different two species wood lices can infest your washroom, your bathroom, some wet places in your garden, in your courtyard. They have no purpose to damage all your stock. They're feeding by rotating plants. They're feeding on rotating organic materials, on rotating leaves on the ground. So they're living underground inside the soil, and sometimes they're coming outside and they can eat leaves. But this is also very good pets. Roly-poly pets. Many people keeping them in terrariums just for pleasure because they easily rear it. They're making good population. For instance, this species was reared from maybe 2 pairs, and I have it in my small terrarium. This is the second species I just collected recently. Yes, Depons said, if possible to send you some samples from Canada. Yes, of course, possible to send some samples. Thank you very much. I have my email in the description of this video, and you can find my email, which is named ufancy@gmail.com. I have it. I cannot show you immediately. My written email. Probably not here. Anyway, my email is ufancy@gmail.com, and I can write you just my precise address. And you can find my address of my job, Institute of Zoology of National Academy of Sciences, even on my YouTube channel. I'm working in the Scientific Research Institute, so that's why I'm not hidden person, so I'm just open for public, for discussion, for collaboration, for connections. And if you have found some calcid wasps like this one, this is a really great idea. This is a great idea. We can study them under the microscope, maybe some new species, maybe some new distribution. Okay, and I understood who is writing about it. One of my subscriber who just visited Canada for a certain period of time. You know my email. And I'm showing on my video, just on computer, also just 2 different ants. And they're feeding each other. And this process is named trophallaxis. Many people do like to keep ants in formicariums. Now they're becoming kind of domesticated insects. Of course, they are not domesticated. Many of them just invasive species. They're penetrating just the borders of your house and trying to steal something. But humans, they created kind of terrariums, which are named formicariums, just for careful observations. Because ants, they are insects, they are not solitary. They have good organization, and it's quite interesting to observe for their behavior like that. How they share food, how they're breeding their larvae, how they breeding the whole colony from eggs till the larvae, pupa, and pupation, and just how they sometimes even swarming inside formicarium or in just separate terrarium. So observation for ants is quite entertaining. And there are some species which are bigger, have a bigger size. I'm not sure if this is Camponotus, probably Camponotus species. And they have a bigger size, more than 5 millimeter size. Bigger size. Queen is a bigger size, has a bigger size. And it's quite pleasant and surprising and entertaining to observe for behavior of ants in captivity. Definitely this is not natural nest. And here just on screen, on computer, I show fruit flies of a genus Drosophila, family Drosophilidae. Some myrmecologists, some amateurs who are keeping ants, keeping also Drosophila flies, to feed with Drosophila the ants as a food, because Drosophila can be easily bred on fruits, like on the skin of bananas, on some rotating apples, and then you can freeze apple flies just in a refrigerator. They are dying quickly, so you can take them off and feed the colony of your ants easily with such organic, you say, very natural way with flies from your culture. Very easy to cultivate them, so and then proliferate in a closed jar like here. This is a closed jar from a cream with a closed transparent lid, so that the flies, fruit flies, Drosophila cannot escape. So that's why they are just proliferating inside. This species is also very common and very well known. On screen now you see firebugs. Very common bugs which appear in springtime and who are proliferating, becoming very common in not in autumn and in mid-summer like now. Okay. My subscriber wrote some messages on telephone. And these firebugs, in Latin name Pyrrhocoris apterus, you can easily keep them at home as a pet because they are not biting. They feeding just on plants, on seeds. Like here, I put some malva seeds, and these bugs, they are not biting. They have a just special mouth apparatus, but they can feed just on plants, and you can observe easily for them. And also, they lay eggs in captivity quite easily. Here is not visible, but I will show you separately. This is also some seeds, some fruits of Robinia, so they can feed on fresh fruits or fresh seeds very easily. And of course, if you collected males and females, they're mating in captivity in your jar, and they're producing it after that very quickly, well visible white color eggs about 1 millimeter size. They're quite big, and then you will see very tiny young instars, just hatched, first generation of this hemimetabola insects, firebugs, Pyrrhocoris apterus, or gendarme bugs, because they have such bright red colors. Children enjoy them very much. Scientists do like firebugs very well because they're breeding easily. It's easy to study them for different purposes like chemical resistance, insecticides resistance, because you can have a colony in laboratory and you can test different insecticides on your cultivated culture, and they're completely not biting, not stinging, completely not dangerous. Absolutely. And this colony was collected in springtime, so that's why you see white flowers of a plum on screen. So they're just crawling around and feeding a little bit on some buds, on some stems, on some leaves. And these are two, male and female. Very difficult to differentiate them. Some people asking how to differentiate male and female of firebug. Usually female is bigger and male is smaller, and female is thicker, is bigger, and male has a kind of a male genitalia, male apparatus when they're just disconnected. And also female is bigger, so she's crawling and keeping the male together with the female. Such a funny tandem, like you can observe it in dragonflies, for instance. And so you can recognize here how easily possible to keep them in captivity if you collected just a part of a population. If you don't need them, you can always release them anywhere near your house because they're not dangerous at all. They're not damaging your plants, or at least the level of damage some plants is completely very, very low. They're not feeding on your plants in your courtyard, in your garden. They're feeding on some seeds which have fallen down on the ground usually, or just near the linen tree which is not cultivated. Okay, and this is praying mantis. Praying mantis on screen. Praying mantis, the name Mantis religiosa. Mantis is also very common insect for breeding purposes. People do like very much praying mantis to keep at home as a pet because the observation for this insect is really pleasant, very interesting. It's really great to observe how praying mantis cleaning its legs, especially first pair of legs, which has predaceous legs, because mantis is taking the prey with his first pair of legs, and this is a female, just a bigger one, and it needs to clean the legs carefully. This is a process is named grooming behavior. Grooming behavior. And these are beetles. These are beetles collected just on the ground near my house. We are belonging to family of ground beetles, family Carabidae. Carabidae. Some Carabidae are predaceous, some are phytophagous, some have a mixed feeding behavior, so quite easy to keep them in laboratory or at home for observation purposes because they're quite interesting. They have such a strong mandibles. They cut the prey with mandibles and kill it. Some of them preying on snails, some preying on other insects, on larvae, and they're entomophagous insects. They have a very great impact on different pests in your garden, in your orchard, so they're beneficial insects. Some of them were feeding on plants, so like here, we're trying to cut some plants to feed on plants. And of course, if we're just entomophagous, predators, so they can eat each other. So we're feeding on bigger species, can feed on a smaller species or smaller specimen. So that's why you need to keep them either on substrate with a good amount of food, so they will not attack each other because of the excess of food. Otherwise, some bigger specimens will eat smaller specimens, adults. So adults, as a predators, as such a predaceous wolves, will feed on other smaller species of ground beetles. And quite interesting to observe them in captivity. How do they make a behavior? Here there are some small aphids on leaves, so we're eating some insects. I have two translations on screen. I have a translation on my telephone, so here I cannot show translation as I do in second part of translation on computer. So if you just download, if you are just going on my channel, say from editor part, or how to say, on my home page of my YouTube channel, I have translation with videos. And here this is a direct translation just from home on telephone. Here I cannot show my video. Video is going on computer. So these two types of translation, because I cannot show screen on telephone. I show screen with downloaded video just on my computer. And on my computer I show a Lateridae beetle of a family Lateridae, or clicking beetle, click beetles. If you put click beetle on your palm, so click beetle is jumping. That's why this beetle is called click beetles. So check my homepage of my YouTube channel and you will find the second edition of my translation. And now I show you some home pests of the family Curculanidae, or weevils. And this is a rice weevil which infested a lot of seeds of wheat. Yes, and we're just escaping because we're feeding for 1 month on seeds of wheat, and now just we're emerging from seeds and crawling on the jar, and then just spreading everywhere around, searching for new food in your warehouse, in your stock. So that's why such a Curculanidae beetle, so weevils are very dangerous, because they can infest hidden stock of your food, hidden seeds, hidden bread, hidden cakes, or some pasta. We can eat some dry bread, dry cakes, not only seeds of wheat and other cereals. So, and we can make huge damage for seeds and even for some bread products as well. So you see they're crawling on light. Some of them just escaping, flying away just outside to the street, through your window, or some of them were coming inside in a dark place, searching for new food. So that's why they're dangerous, because we can search for new food in your house, like here. We were crawling, making a group, making this kind of a social activity. We're very surprised by fresh air. Some of them just fallen down, but some of them escaping because this species, Cytophilus oryzae, this species has wings, so that's why males and females were escaping the jar with already eaten food, and they're just infesting new food somewhere in a stock in a new warehouse. They can feed also on acorns, or you see here one small specimen was flying. Or you can feed also in the nature on acorns, or maybe on some nuts. I was feeding them also with acorns collected in the nature, so they were eating it very well. And here, this is a head of a species which are easily domesticated, easily keeping in the culture. And this is Tenebrionidae beetle, Zophobos atratus. And this is female with a flattened part of a head. You see, this is a female. So that's why you may have females and males in your culture. So you can remember this head for female, and this is a male with its circular cutting edge on the head. This is a male. So usually a number of males more than females. So, but it's not a problem. only with the problem that some males can be bigger, some smaller. So the bigger can destroy the smallest. They cut their antennae, cut their legs because of such kind of a competition. And they have strong mandibles. And this is a grasshopper, a green grasshopper, which is collected just in the bush, or just with. Oh, no, I didn't collect in a bush. I collected it on my balcony. On my balcony. This grasshopper just flew inside my balcony. I was surprised and started to sing. So I found singing grasshopper on my balcony in midnight time. So that's why I collected it just for presentation. This nice, beautiful artist in my video. And this is a male. Because of this, he has tooth. It's not visible here because male doesn't have ovipositor, and male has no stick, long stick on the top of the body, has no tail, but only has a kind of a male genitalia. Of course, jumping very well, but you cannot escape from entomologist, especially if you want to show your subject for your audience. If it, oh yes, you see here on the right side, this is top of the abdomen, and top of abdomen without has no ovipositor. And I fed this grasshopper with some leaves, but in many cases grasshoppers have a mixed behavior. You can feed them either on leaves or were just predaceous. But this species was not predaceous. Yes, I guess so. This was the last insect in this video. Yes. Okay. So you can keep also grasshoppers as a home pet just for observation, but don't forget that the home pet grasshopper is living just very short period of time, maybe 10 days, maybe 2 weeks, at least 2 weeks. So this is a lot of time for grasshopper of different size. Small grasshopper, big grasshoppers, but they are feeding either on plants or they're predaceous. You need to feed them with some another insects. Maybe smaller crickets, easy to keep bush crickets outside of your house and keep them inside the jar, inside terrariums. But bush cricket also partially predaceous. If you keep several crickets inside your terrarium, one cricket will be feeding on another cricket and another will be feeding on the next one. And your population will be decreasing. So you need to give them excess of food and make kind of a refuges inside terrarium, so they will hide somewhere and will not connect very often between them to avoid such a destructive behavior as feeding on each other inside your terrarium. But about indoor insects or indoor pests, which are infesting your stock, infesting your kitchen, infesting your bathroom, toilet, balcony, living room or kitchen, or just corridor or warehouse. This is a long story. For that I can use this book as an Irish indoor insects, which I got from my colleague Dr. O'Connor from Ireland. And here this is a description, definitely in English, about life cycles of different indoor insects. Most of them were pests, indoor pests of different products, or were just maybe a little bit irritating. But for that we will be making new video stream, maybe next week, next Monday. So follow my channel, follow my advertisement on my channel, and don't forget, press like, subscribe, and write your comments. And don't forget to visit my Patreon page for donations. Donate me, donate to Ukraine, support Ukrainian army, so support Ukrainian science. We will fight, support independence of Ukraine. Ukraine is forever. Ukraine is forever. Ukraine will win. Thank you for watching. You can write separate comments under this video after finishing of this video. Thank you for observation. Good luck. See you soon on my channel. Okay, finish translation.